So you've sent your prompt, right? And the AI delivers something. Maybe it's good, maybe it's even pretty good, but it's not quite what you had in mind.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
You know that feeling? It's like, you asked for this amazing custom meal, perfectly cooked, but it's missing that one key ingredient, the one you really wanted but didn't explicitly spell out.
Exactly. We've all been there.
We're all trying to figure out how to get exactly what we want from these AI tools. So today we're diving deep into iterative refinement, the power of follow-up prompts.
Yeah.
This is a skill, I think, that really separates the novices from the real masters.
It's a perfect way to put it, actually, because the key insight here, the thing to really grasp, is that AI mastery isn't really about crafting that single perfect initial prompt. It's much more about understanding that your first prompt is almost never your last prompt. So our mission for this deep dive, it's to help you learn how to turn those adequate, kind of okay AI responses into truly exceptional ones. And we do that by mastering the ongoing conversation.
The conversation. Okay.
Yeah. We'll look at why those first attempts often, fall a bit short. But crucially, we'll explore how to guide the AI with really strategic follow-up prompts to get exactly what you need.
Okay, let's unpack this then, because I think pretty much everyone listening has felt that frustration, right? When a response is just, off, not quite there.
For sure.
And our sources, they confirm this. Even with like the most carefully written initial prompts, you rarely get exactly what you need first time around.
That's true.
So what does that tell us? What's the takeaway about how we should be interacting with AI, and maybe why that initial failure isn't really a failure at all?
Well, it forces us to accept that AI isn't a mind reader, right? Your first prompt. It's just the start. It's the opening line of a conversation, really. Collaboration.
A collaboration. I like that.
Yeah. The most effective AI users, they get this. They know that getting truly great results, it almost always takes some back and forth, a bit of dialogue.
Okay, so why? Why do even experienced people run into this? Why do those first attempts miss the mark so often?
Well, it usually comes down to a few key things. First, interpretation gaps. The AI might just understand your request slightly differently than you meant it.
Okay, so not wrong, just different.
Exactly. Second, there's often incomplete understanding. It gets the main idea, maybe, but misses the subtle stuff, the nuance, the context that's obvious to you.
Right.
Third, AI often starts with generic starting points. It's designed to be broad, so you need to push it to get specific.
Makes sense.
And maybe the biggest one, we all have unexpressed expectations, things in our head about the perfect output that we just didn't type out.
Ah, yes. That's so true.
It's not the AI failing necessarily. It's just the limit of trying to do everything in one go.
I love that point about unexpressed expectations. We kind of expect it to magically know what we really want, don't we?
We do.
And here's where it gets really interesting. I saw one AI researcher put it just perfectly. They said, the perfect prompt is a myth. The perfect conversation is the goal.
That's it. Exactly. It's not about nailing it first time. It's about building towards it together.
Like a collaboration.
Precisely. You should think of it less like photography, trying to get that one perfect shot.
Okay.
And much more like sculpting.
Sculpting? How so?
Well, you start with your rough block of marble,
Yeah.
right? That's your initial prompt and the first response.
Okay.
Then you look at it. You see what's good, what needs work. You identify the strengths, the weaknesses, and then you start chipping away, refining, adding detail. Each follow-up prompt is like a targeted tap with a chisel. You refine the shape step by step till you get what you want.
That's a fantastic analogy.
And this whole process, this back and forth, it isn't just a fix. It often feels more natural, it's more flexible, and honestly, sometimes it's even more efficient than trying to cram every single possible detail into one giant first prompt.
The sculpting analogy really sticks. It highlights that it's a process, but, okay, that raises a question. How much sculpting is, too much?
Good question.
Where's the line between being patient enough to get something great and just, being efficient? I can see people just giving up after 2 or 3 tries if it's not working immediately.
That's a really crucial balance to strike. And it really depends on your goal for that specific task.
Okay.
If you're working on something complex, something high stakes, where quality and precision are absolutely critical, like, a major business proposal or exploring really creative ideas,
right,
then yeah, you need patience. You need to be willing to iterate multiple times. You're aiming for that masterpiece, so to speak.
Makes sense.
But for more routine stuff, where good enough is actually fine, or when you just need something quick for a deadline, Or maybe you're just generating a rough draft. You're going to rewrite heavily anyway.
Yeah.
Then efficiency becomes the priority. We often talk about the 80-20 rule for AI refinement.
The 80-20 rule?
Yeah. You can often get, say, 80% of the way to the best possible result with just one or two really well-aimed follow-up prompts.
Ah, okay.
Going beyond that, you might start seeing diminishing returns, like spending twice the time for maybe a tiny improvement.
Right.
I heard one product manager put it really well. They said, I'd rather have 3 good enough AI outputs to choose from than spend the same amount of time trying to perfect just one single response to 100%.
That's smart. It's about investing your time strategically.
Exactly. Smart tweaking, not endless tweaking.
Okay, so we've got the mindset. Iterate, don't aim for perfection first time. We know when to be patient, when to be efficient. But what's actually in the toolkit? How do we do the refining?
Right.
When that first response isn't quite hitting the mark, what are the actual moves we can make? Our sources mentioned 4 main types of follow-up prompts.
Absolutely. Let's break down that toolkit. First up, you've got clarification requests.
Okay, clarification.
And this isn't just vaguely asking for more detail. It's about asking for focused detail or asking for a deeper explanation of something specific.
Ah, focused detail.
Yeah. You use these when you see a promising idea in the response, but it needs more development. Or maybe you just don't fully understand something the AI said. Or you want to really dig into one specific aspect.
Got it. Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say the AI mentions customer retention strategies. Instead of just saying, tell me more, you'd ask something like, can you expand on that third point you made about customer retention strategies? What specific tactics would work best for our subscription-based model?
Much more specific.
Exactly. Or if it drops a term like agile methodology adaptations, you could ask, could you elaborate on what specific adaptations would work for a small team of 5 people? Maybe focus on how we'd adjust daily stand-ups or sprint planning. So you're guiding it precisely.
Yeah, that's much better than just expand. You're pointing it exactly where you need more information. Okay, what's the next tool?
Next up, refinement commands. These are all about tweaking the style, the tone, the format, or the general approach without changing the core information too much.
Okay, so the substance is okay, but the delivery needs work.
Pretty much. You use these when the content is basically good, but the presentation isn't quite right. Maybe it's too formal or too wordy, or you need it in a different structure, like bullet points instead of paragraphs.
Right.
So you might say, this is a good start, but please make it more concise. Can you cut the word count by about 30%, but keep all the key points?
Okay.
Or could you rewrite this email? I need it to sound more friendly and conversational, but still keep it professional enough for an internal team. It's about polishing the delivery.
Got it. So clarification for more substance, refinement for better style. What else?
Then you have direction changes. This is when you realize the AI has kind of gone off track, or maybe you want to explore a completely different angle than your original prompt suggested.
Ah, a pivot.
Exactly. You use these when the response is just conceptually not what you needed, or when you realize a different approach might be more valuable, or maybe you just want to see an alternative perspective.
Okay. Like what?
For example, okay, instead of focusing on cost-cutting measures like I initially asked, could you please focus on revenue growth strategies? We need ideas on how to tackle our budget concerns from that angle instead.
Right. A total shift in focus.
Or even a bigger pivot. Let's try a different approach altogether. Instead of looking at these challenges one by one, can you develop an integrated solution? Something that tackles the underlying system issues, looks for the root causes.
I see. That's for when the first attempt was really quite far off.
Or when you change your mind about the best direction, yeah. Finally, the fourth type. Quality improvements.
Quality improvements. How's that different from refinement?
It's more targeted. Refinement often adjusts the overall style or tone. Quality improvements are about enhancing specific parts of the response while keeping the stuff that's already working well.
Okay. More surgical.
Exactly. You use this when the response is generally on the right track, but maybe certain sections are weak or need more substance.
Like strengthening a specific argument.
Precisely. You might say, this analysis section is good, but the recommendations part needs to be much more actionable. Could you revise just that section to include specific next steps? Maybe assign owners and suggest timelines?
Okay.
Or let's improve the introduction. It needs more emotional impact. Can you rewrite it to really grab the reader's attention by highlighting the urgency of this problem for our specific audience? You're fixing or enhancing specific bits.
So clarification, refinement, direction change, quality improvement, that's a pretty solid toolkit. But it sounds like using them effectively depends a lot on how well you read the AI's response in the first place.
You've hit the nail on the head. Getting the most out of this isn't just about the prompts you write. It's about becoming a really strategic reader of what the AI gives you back.
Okay, so how do you do that? How do you read strategically?
You need to train yourself to quickly break down the response.
Yeah.
Don't just see it as one blob of text. Look at the different parts. The content itself, the structure or flow, the tone, the format, the level of specificity.
Analyze it piece by piece.
Yeah, ask yourself questions like, okay, which bits here are actually useful? What parts would work well if I just copied them? Then, which parts would need the most editing if I were doing this manually? That tells you where the weaknesses are.
That's a good filter. How much work would I have to do?
Exactly. Also ask, is anything crucial missing? Or is there fluff here that's just irrelevant?
Okay. Can you give an example of that kind of analysis?
Sure. Imagine you get a draft marketing email. You might read it and think, okay, the product descriptions and the benefits list, those are strong, good content there. But the call to action, it's pretty weak. And it's buried way down at the bottom. That's a structure weakness. The tone is nice and enthusiastic. That works. Tone strength. But maybe the subject line is boring. Content weakness. You see, you're picking it apart. You're seeing it not as finished, but as, like, a scaffold you can build on.
A scaffold. I like that image. It's something to work with. Okay, so you analyze what's working and what's not, but you also mentioned looking for opportunities, right? Things you didn't even ask for.
Absolutely. This is where it gets really interesting. Sometimes the best follow-ups aren't about fixing flaws, but about spotting a little spark, an unexpected insight the AI threw in.
Like a hidden gem.
Exactly. Look for an unexpected connection it made. Or maybe an emerging pattern you hadn't noticed. Or even just a partial solution or a creative phrase that triggers a new idea for you.
So you're reading not just for problems, but for potential.
Precisely. Ask yourself, did the AI just connect two ideas in a way I hadn't thought of? Or is there a seed of something really innovative here, even if the rest of the response is weak?
Okay, and if you spot something like that,
Then you pounce. Let's say the AI briefly mentions something like combining customer feedback data with social listening insights. Maybe that wasn't your main focus, but it sounds intriguing.
right?
Your follow-up could be, hey, that point about combining customer feedback and social listening, that's a really interesting angle I hadn't considered. Could you elaborate on how we might actually implement that? Like, what tools would we need? How would we integrate those different data sources?
So you're using the AI's unexpected idea to push your own thinking further.
Exactly. It's about co-creation, building on those sparks.
That feels like a more advanced move, but really powerful.
Okay, but what about the other end of the spectrum? What if the response is just bad, fundamentally wrong?
Yeah.
When do you decide to just cut your losses, hit start new chat versus trying to salvage it with more refinement? That feels like a key decision point.
It absolutely is. And knowing when to stop refining and just restart can save you a ton of time and frustration.
So what are the signs? When should you keep going versus starting over? Okay, you should probably continue refining if the response has a decent foundation, even if flawed. You can clearly picture and articulate the specific changes you need. Each follow-up you try seems to make meaningful progress, and the core approach still feels basically sound for your goal.
Okay, so if you're making progress and the base is okay.
Right. You're sculpting and it's taking shape. But you should seriously consider starting fresh if the response is just fundamentally misaligned with what you actually need. You find yourself wanting to change almost everything about it. You've tried a few follow-ups and it's still not getting significantly better. Or, and this happens, you realize your initial prompt was maybe unclear or pointed the AI in completely the wrong direction.
Admitting your own prompt was the issue.
Sometimes that's the case. So an example of a pivot or reset prompt might be, okay, let's pause here. I think my initial request wasn't clear enough. Let's take a completely different approach. What I'm really looking for isn't a technical implementation guide. It's actually a change management plan for rolling out new software to a team that might be resistant. Can we start over with that specific focus?
That's direct. And probably saves a lot of pain trying to twist the wrong response into the right one.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to scrap and restart. It's often the faster path.
Okay, so we're iterating, reading strategically, knowing when to pivot or restart. Now, how do you keep the whole conversation on track, especially if it gets long? How do you build momentum towards your goal without getting lost down rabbit holes?
Great question. This is about managing the flow of the conversation. A key technique is actively using the AI's previous responses as springboards for your next prompt. Don't just issue commands in isolation.
Build on what's already there.
Yes. For instance, you can quote and expand. Like, you mentioned micro-learning modules earlier, and that sounded interesting. How would we actually structure those for a sales team with very limited time? What kind of content should go in them?
Okay, referencing back.
Or you can acknowledge and redirect. Thanks for that detailed overview of the problem. That's helpful context. Now, let's focus specifically on solutions we could realistically implement in the next 30 days, keeping our budget in mind.
Got it.
You can also extract and develop. Maybe the AI gave you a list of 5 recommendations. You could say, okay, from that list, the customer segmentation approach seems the most promising for our situation right now. Let's really develop that idea further. What are the specific implementation steps? What challenges should we anticipate?
Focusing in on one part.
Exactly. Or you can even ask it to compare and contrast things it's already suggested. You've outlined both traditional marketing and digital marketing approaches. Could you create a simple comparison table? Show me the pros, cons, maybe estimated costs, and potential ROI for each one, specifically for our industry.
Using the AI's own output to generate more structured information. Smart.
And alongside using previous responses, you need to maintain thread consistency, especially in longer chats. Keep the conversation from drifting off course.
How do you do that?
A few ways. Use periodic recaps. Just briefly summarizing where you are can refocus both you and the AI. Okay, so far we've outlined a marketing strategy for Q1. We're focusing on digital channels, and we have that $15,000 budget constraint. Let's continue now by detailing the implementation timeline for the first month.
Like setting waypoints.
Exactly. Also, use constraint reminders. Gently remind the AI of key limitations. As we explore these different software options, just remember, any solution needs to be implementable by our small team of 3, and we don't have specialized technical skills on staff.
Keeping it grounded in reality.
Right, and purpose anchoring. Always tie things back to the main goal. These tactical details about the website design are helpful, but let's make sure they directly support our primary objective, which is increasing customer retention by 15% this quarter.
Pulling it back to the why.
Yes. And finally, use explicit transitions when you shift topics. Okay, great. Now that we've addressed the technical specs for the new product, let's shift our focus completely over to the communication plan for the launch. Just clearly signaling the change helps keep things organized.
That all makes perfect sense. It's like you're actively managing the conversation flow, being the director. But sometimes, even with all that, maybe the conversation just gets too messy.
It can happen.
Is there a time to just wipe the slate clean, but in a structured way?
Absolutely. Sometimes the most effective move is to deliberately summarize everything important that's been decided and then start a fresh phase of the conversation based on that summary. It's like a controlled reset.
When would you do that? What are the signs?
You might do it if you feel like you're hitting diminishing returns, lots of prompting, not much improvement. Or if the conversation thread has just gotten really long and bloated with context, that might be confusing the AI.
Right, too much history.
Yeah. Or if you yourself are starting to get a bit lost in the thread. Or, as we just discussed, if you're about to make a major shift in topic.
Okay, and how do you actually do the reset?
A few ways. You could ask the AI itself. Could you please summarize the key decisions and main points we've established so far in this conversation?
Let the AI do the work.
Sometimes, yeah. Or, often better, you create a concise, structured recap yourself in your prompt. Or just document the key decisions offline and then start a new prompt referencing them.
Gotcha. Could you give an example of that reset prompt?
Sure. Something like, okay, thanks for all the brainstorming on this. To make sure we're clear, let me summarize where we've landed. We're creating a 6-week employee wellness program. It'll have both virtual and in-person parts. Budget is $5,000. Key focus is stress reduction and team building. The audience is our remote-first tech team, about 50 people across 3 time zones. Now, building on that summary, let's focus only on developing the week-by-week schedule. Let's start with week 1, see? You prune away all the old discussion and give it a clean, focused starting point for the next phase.
That's really powerful. A clean slate, but with all the important context carried forward. Okay, these are genuinely practical strategies. Beyond these big frameworks, though, our sources also had some, quick tips, pro moves, little things that savvy users
He
do.
did, yeah. Some are kind of obvious, but always worth repeating.
Like what?
Well, be specific in your follow-ups. Vague prompts get vague answers. Focus on changing just one aspect at a time if you can. It usually works better than asking for 5 changes at once.
Haha.
Save intermediate versions of anything important as you go. Don't rely on the chat history alone. And use formatting like bolding key instructions or using bullet points in your prompt to make your requests really clear for the AI.
Basic hygiene, but important.
Uh.
Okay, what about the less obvious stuff, the real game changers?
Okay, here are a few really interesting ones. First, try the if you were to improve one thing technique.
What's that?
After the AI gives you a response, literally ask it. If you could improve just one aspect of this response you just gave me, what would it be and how would you change it?
Asking the AI to critique itself.
Exactly. And it's often surprisingly insightful. It might point out a weakness or an area for improvement that you hadn't even spotted.
Wow, okay. That's clever. What else?
Second, try the opposing perspectives approach.
Ah,
Ask the AI to critique its own response, but from a specific different viewpoint.
how does that work?
So maybe you got a marketing plan. You could then ask, okay, now how might a financial analyst critique this marketing-focused approach? What concerns would they raise, especially about the budget?
Yeah, forcing it to consider other angles.
Yeah, it pushes the AI to think about potential blind spots or counter-arguments.
Sure.
Third, there's the expert review method.
Expert review.
Ask the AI to review its own output as if it were a specific type of expert. For example, review this email draft you wrote as if you were a senior diplomatic communications officer. Focus particularly on the tone and any phrases that could be easily misinterpreted.
So you're leveraging its internal knowledge by giving it a specific expert persona to adopt for the critique.
Precisely. And fourth, a really interesting one, the future-proof technique.
Future-proof.
Ask the AI about the longevity of its own recommendations. What aspects of this plan or recommendation might become outdated or problematic in the next, say, 1 to 2 years? And how could we proactively address that now?
That's smart, getting it to think about risks and long-term viability.
Yeah, it helps you build more robust, forward-thinking solutions.
These are brilliant, non-obvious tips. Okay, so wrapping this all up, what does this really mean for you, the listener? I think it means you've basically unlocked a critical skill here. Iterative refinement. It frees you, doesn't it, from that huge pressure of trying to get everything absolutely perfect in that very first prompt. It's a different way of thinking.
It really is.
Yeah.
This whole deep dive, it's shown that real excellence with AI, it comes from that strategic conversation. It comes from the back and forth.
Right.
You're now armed with this toolkit, clarification, refinement, direction changes, quality improvements, and just as importantly, you're learning how to read those responses critically and how to keep the conversation moving forward productively.
And remember, mastering this iterative refinement thing, it's not just about getting slightly better answers from an AI on a task-by-task basis.
Oh, bigger than that.
It's about fundamentally shifting your relationship with AI. You're moving towards developing a truly dynamic, collaborative partnership. And that partnership consistently gets you better results, often faster, ironically.
Absolutely. And as you consciously practice these techniques, analyzing responses, crafting targeted follow-ups, managing the conversation flow, you'll find yourself getting much higher quality outputs more efficiently. You'll start building this intuition for effective AI collaboration. It's a skill that definitely grows with practice.
It really is. Okay, so here's a final, maybe provocative thought for you to take away and chew on. How might developing this AI conversation intuition, the skill of asking really precise questions, listening critically to the answers, and strategically guiding a dialogue towards a goal, how might that skill extend beyond just talking to AI? Could it possibly improve other kinds of dialogues, maybe negotiations or collaborations in other parts of your life? Something to think about.
It's a fascinating question.
Definitely food for thought. Okay, join us next time when we'll be exploring role-playing and personas, getting AI to think like your audience.